Good. All right. Our apologies for the late streaming on this tonight. So we are now at the public hearings. The first public hearing that we have tonight is PB 2008-6466 Plains Road Discovery Institute. This is an application to subdivide an existing 5.7 acre lot into 2 lots. So we're going to ask for a motion to open the public hearing.
So motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the public hearing is now open. Is there anyone here to speak to this specific application at this public hearing? Seeing none, are there any online who wish to speak to this? Okay, so as there is no one here to speak on this application, I would like to get a motion to close the public hearing. Second,
Seconded.
all in favor? Aye. So the public hearing is now closed. We're going to move to application reviews, and the application review is for PB 2008-6466 Plains Road Discovery Institute. Again, application to subdivide an existing 5.7 acre lot into 2 lots. The next steps that we're going to take, and please come on up, is we're going to look at the issues. I'm going to make an assumption that you have a copy of the outstanding issues that were sent to you by our attorney. Yes, no, maybe?
From last year.
Yes, then there were 6 of them. One of them was that the applicant should provide a copy of the easement and private road maintenance agreement for Da Vinci Way. Sewage disposal easement area should be delineated or identified in some manner on the map. Does this sound familiar? Okay. Finally, it gets down here to the applicant should submit the proposed encroachment easement and maintenance agreement as a Word document for review and revision by the planning board attorney. So all of this is
Done.
done. Okay. So you do have the copy of the outstanding issues. So essentially, the work that you've done has led us to this point over the long period of time that we've done it. And we're at the point now where what we're going to do is ask our board members if they have anything else they want to contribute. If it looks as though there's nothing else that needs to be, or if there is something, we're going to make note of it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to discuss asking for a motion for our attorney to create a resolution of approval, a draft resolution of approval for PB 2008. And it's going to be contingent on satisfaction of all the items, and she will go through it next year before we get that final copy. Okay.
So I'm confused. These items are left over from the last meeting. Ashley has not had a chance to check the updated submission and
Confused about it. She was on copy.
so this just hasn't been updated.
Right. I think this is essentially a checklist that we need to go through to make sure that it's all been completed before they get the final resolution of approval.
Okay.
So what we'll do when we go for this is we'll say that it's contingent on the satisfaction of items 1 through 6, so that we can make sure that we include those, and that'll give Ashley time to look at it, ensure that it has been approved and that they have included all these items and they've all been cured. Only then will they be allowed to have the final motion or the final approval.
Okay, understood.
Any questions?
I'm sorry if I'm misremembering, but there was a decision from the ZBA that we've gotten back. I don't know if that's in the folder.
From the clerk's office.
Okay. Good. So we should assume that that's approved.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yep.
So we have all of these before us. Got a decision from the ZBA, got an approval on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the board for a motion to approve our attorney to draft a resolution of approval for PB 2008 6466 Plains Road Discovery Institute, contingent on the satisfaction of all items 1 through 6 as noted in the issues described above. Second,
Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Raquel. So she will draft a resolution, a tentative draft resolution of approval. Next meeting, when she's here, we'll go through, we'll make sure that all these are taken care of. And if that's all true and there's nothing else outstanding at that point, then we'll look at that motion for approval and hopefully pass it heading in the way. Thank you. Thank you. The next application is PB 2221, 118 Huguenot Street, David Keys. Hello. Okay, as everyone will remember, this is an application for a site plan approval to remove an existing non-conforming shed that is presently located in the side yard setback and construct a 24 by 14 pottery studio with a deck that meets the setback requirements. Property consists of certain acreage and is located in the historic district. So we have a resolution of approval that I believe everybody has a copy of. Should be part of your packet. So in looking through this, and did you get a copy of this as well? Okay. Then it's pretty basic and standard in a lot of this, in a lot of ways. We have the identification of the property, the plans and submittals. We have kind of a history, procedural history of what was going on, and then some of the findings, which were essentially that the planning board has found that the site plan conforms to the village's adopted comprehensive master plan and village code. So following that, we have the resolution of approval. We have some specific conditions that I want to go through here, as well as some general conditions, which I will not go through. The specific conditions are: the pottery studio shall only be used for personal use that is accessory to the single family home. Should the applicant desire to use the building for any other purpose than a private accessory pottery studio, including but not limited to use as an accessory dwelling unit, the applicant must apply for and obtain all approval and or permits required for the desired use under the village zoning code and other applicable laws and regulations. A note in this regard shall be added to the plan prior to the signature. So you understand that, okay? Because that was kind of a key item. Okay, the applicant shall comply with all the requirements set forth, and then it's including screening the mini split compressor from public view. Planning board's acceptance of the lighting design shown on the plans is premised on the representation of the applicant that the lighting will not cause a glare or other deleterious or intrusive effects on adjoining properties and or roadway traffic. Should any such condition result from the installation of these light fixtures, in the sole opinion of the building inspector, the applicant shall modify or replace the fixtures. The general conditions are, again, pretty boilerplate, such as the site plan shall be binding upon the applicant and any subsequent owner. If no construction or other site improvements have been initiated at the site during the 12-month period following the site plan approval, the approved plan shall require resubmission and reapproval. That's a key one as well. We've had some people who've not begun it very quickly and had to come back for another go at it. So with that in mind, I would like to get a motion to approve this application.
So moved.
Roll call.
Yeah, we will.
Oh, okay. So motion.
In a second. And I'm going to ask our project manager if she will do a voice roll call vote at this time, including Raquel, who seems to be in witness protection.
No, I'm here.
We'll start with Jackie Electric.
Aye.
Gotcha. Aye.
Aye.
Carol Karen.
Aye.
John Whittle.
Aye. So the motion has passed and it has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, that's scary, Pop. Sorry about that.
First for everything.
Yeah. Okay, the next item on our agenda is PB 2223, 30 North Manheim Boulevard, Jeffrey Davies.
David Sutter is joining us by Zoom.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi there. So, summary is this is an application for site approval to construct a deck on an existing single-family residence over an existing paved driveway to replace the existing egress stairs in the side yard to lower finish grade at the house to below floor level and raise the grade level in the backyard. So does the board have any issues, problems, clarifications, or disagreements with this application or with this resolution of approval?
I didn't get a chance to fully go through it. What was the decision on the asphalt fill?
I think they removed it just to,
Right.
so that we could get to this point. And just-
Mr. Toder, can you confirm that, please?
Yes, the debris from the driveway removal will be properly shipped off site and disposed of as per your resolution
That
wording.
is one of our specific conditions.
Okay.
So, so any other questions or comments on it? No? Okay, then we do have the resolution of approval for the site plan for 30 North Manheim Boulevard. And it is a summary. David Toder, on behalf of Michelle and Jeffrey Davies, proposes to construct an exterior deck on an existing single-family residence, remove and replace existing egress stairs in the side yard, remove blacktop and lower the finished grade at the house to below floor level and raise the grade in the backyard with clean fill. Goes through some boilerplate items again, the identification of the property, the plans and submittals, the procedural history. And then we get to the resolution of approval. And the resolution of approval says, now therefore the planning board of the village of New Paltz, New York hereby resolves to issue site plan approval on the application of Michelle and Jeffrey Davies, but only as specifically set forth on the plans as identified above or as subsequently revised in accordance with this resolution. So some of the specific conditions are, number one, no asphalt debris from the driveway shall be used as fill on the property. All fill shall be cleaned to the satisfaction of the building inspector and transported in accordance with all applicable regulations. Then we move to the general conditions, which we are all familiar with, and including all fees shall be paid and all bonds necessary shall be in such form. And then we finally get down here to the approval. So what I'm going to do is ask for a motion to approve the application, the site plan for 30 North Manheim Boulevard, application number PB 2223. Second,
Second.
and I will ask our project manager to conduct a voice vote.
Jackie Electric.
Aye.
Gotcha. Aye. Soto.
Aye.
Carol Karen.
Aye.
John Whittle.
Aye. And so the motion is approved. Thank you, Mr. Toder. We appreciate it.
Thank you very
And you get with our project coordinator and she will finish up the information with you.
Wonderful, thank you.
And for this next one, I'm going to have to recuse myself, and Zach Bielecki will be working this. This is PB 2220, 29 South Chestnut.
Okay, thank you, Chair Litton. So this is an application for site plan approval to change use of an existing barn from storage to farm brewery, artisanal use. The property consists of a 1/4 acres on South Chestnut Street and located in the B2 district. Do we have Floyd Niffen here tonight? Yeah, cool. Hi, wondering if you could walk through any updates to the plan for us.
So the only two changes on the plan are the outdoor lighting and the sign, as you requested. I know that the big thing was getting a building inspector to make a determination on the artisanal use, as well as the possibility of the need for that area variance because of the setbacks on the building. And
Right.
I'm pretty sure he did that, but I'm not sure if he did. I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Kind of exhaust and waste does this project create?
So this is two kinds of exhaust. There's the brew kettle for when you boil the work, and then that's gonna be, I'll be planning on using a steam capture where we mist the steam coming off of it. You mist it with water and it condenses, so you don't have the steam going out. That should capture all of it. Then the other is the fermentation. And one way of dealing with that is you pressurize the tanks, so you naturally carbonate the beer instead of adding the CO2 later. So that's the plan for that. Well, any other like fresh air exhaust, if necessary, I would probably vent out the front of the building so it doesn't go towards the
With the rail trail?
Well, this isn't directly on the rail trail. This is on South Chestnut. So it abuts to Wirtz Ave in the back.
So Rachel, if you go down Hasbrook Avenue, it's the building right in the intersection. There's a whole barn behind it.
Our next step is going to be to classify this as a type 2 action under seeker. Can we get a motion to do so? Second? All in favor?
I,
Okay, there are a few issues that our attorney noted. First of all, the parking tabulation does not indicate any parking for the new brewery use. I realize that there may not be many employees required here, but I think that there is some parking required under the zoning. It's well, she goes into more detail, and we can forward you this comment on the specific code section, but essentially the parking requirement is not entitled to automatic reduction for residential and office mixed-use properties. So I guess if you did want to submit a narrative about why, what the use, what the additional parking requirements would be, and you could demonstrate that a reduction would be appropriate, then we can consider that.
So do you anticipate the lot would accommodate any additional parking?
So currently, any overflow parking is utilized along Hasbrook Avenue, over by St. Joseph's Church, and also on the north side of Hasbrook Avenue. It's really going to be a 1 or 2 person operation. I have the means to park at the other 2 properties next door as well. I was trying to limit the amount of additional parking, because the only way I can go is towards the back. There is room, I think, to stay within the required setbacks to put maybe 1 more parking space to the west, which would be towards the back of the property. I did have, when I did the initial parking layout for the offices, I provided a handicap spot. I think even though I wasn't required, so that takes up 2 spots, but I don't really want to mess with that either, because people do use that, and there's a handicap ramp into the back of the office building. I know in the past, businesses have utilized parking within a 400-foot radius. I don't know if that's a rule that's still utilized in the code, if that's even anything that's out there anymore.
That's something I would have to ask Ashley about.
I mean, I think I speak for me, at least, that we're not generally motivated to impose a bunch of extra, what would likely end up being empty parking spaces, and especially if they're then going to be paved and more impervious surface. So I think that there's a standard calculation. There's we could all look at the code, we could too, and just check to see if there's some provision or strong argument for street parking as a accommodation. I think that, the code does have a parking calculation requirement, but we should all think about how to make sure it's not excessive for what you're going to need and not likely to creating neighborhood conflicts. And then go from there. Yeah, that's my suggestion.
Yeah, agreed. Any other comments on parking?
How large of a delivery truck would you be holding out?
Question.
My anticipation is we would be distributing locally to the bars in town and restaurants and stores. So it would probably be like a work van. We would do pull in, go and bring out probably once a week.
Are you using bottles or cans? Or cans?
Combination, well, definitely kegs, cans, and potentially bottles.
Okay, moving on, we have the EAF indicates the project contains or substantially contiguous to historic building or district. So it records indicate one of the buildings on the property is listed on the Register of Historic Places. Additionally, although the brewery is proposed in the existing building, the applicant is adding lighting and a sign. The plans should thus be reviewed by the HPC. So you could just go before them and get their opinions on the plan. That would be helpful for us.
You're reading the attorney's.
Yes. Yeah.
She said there's an an existing historic building on the property? Is that what she said, or is it that because there's a historic district?
She said that there was one of the buildings on the property is listed on the Register of Historic Places. Now, I'm not sure.
It happens to be called the Webb Niffen House.
I guess that's the office building itself. Doesn't necessarily seem like a historic building to me, but we can
Yeah,
get
or renovated it. Original.
right. Well, we can get some additional details from her about that.
Autumn, what is the HPC timeline and process currently?
They meet once a month, and that would be the second Monday of the month. They go through the same process we do, essentially review the application, get the public hearing, and then make their decision.
So what triggers their review? Does it have to come from you, or can I approach them?
Hmm.
And it seems like if lighting and signage is going to be one of their key concerns.
I kept it pretty minimal, just some down lights over the two doors and one signs.
Right. Okay, speaking of the lighting, a lighting specification sheet should be provided. Is that included? Okay. Also, in addition to complying with village requirements, any site lighting must utilize full cutoff luminaries and not exceed IEA lighting levels. It seems like you're already planning on doing that. As previously noted, Corey should review any zoning nonconformities. Was this already underway? Did he's aware of this
So
this application?
Sorry to cut you off, the barn is within the rear setback,
Right.
and Corey was going to address that, and I haven't seen anything.
Okay. So we're just waiting for that review. And as previously noted, any water connection should be reviewed by the DPW for compliance with cross connection regulations.
My understanding, every building has to comply with this.
Okay. Well, those are the only issues that we have noted here. I didn't have any other comments at this time. Was there anything else the board wanted to bring up?
Oh, this, thanks. So this 12:30 with the added wall sign and lighting, there's been no additional lighting. I had additions there. So just the specs for those lights would be all that you have to be added. And then the parking calculation, all that, put it all on one plan. And if there's a narrative that you might want to consider around the ultimate number of spots. Submit that.
In regards to the historic registry and the building being on it, is there anything I need to do more than just meet with the historic preservation committee?
No, I don't think so.
That building has been modified substantially. They
Yeah.
needed it back, whatever it was, 15 years, 10 years ago. when they did it.
It's possible that the HPC might have a different determination as to whether that's on there. I mean, it's a listing and, you know, so I'm sure that our attorney found it on the listing.
Yeah, sure.
But maybe there's something different you'll learn and you won't even have to get their approval, but if you gotta get their approval, I'd say, that, you know, get in the queue.
I got pictures of him building it, Bill. Back in
You mount those in the.
And there was a source barn in the back.
Uh-huh. Cool. Well, cool use, we just gotta make sure it's all works.
Yeah, I think that's about all we can do at this meeting, but hope to have you back.
I'll hear from maybe autumn when we get queries. Seems like that's the
Thanks.
Yours. Thank you very much. Okay, so our next item on the agenda is PB 221868 Cooper Street, David Shepler.
We submit the guidance from the memo and he said, rather than send tonight, he just sent an email to say that.
Okay, so I guess we'll pass that over to him.
And that the guidance is that there needs the water and sewer connection, storm drainage, work grading, all that additional plan that includes all that.
Well, there's
Some
some
property.
there's some discussion about that. Our engineer looked for plans, and some of the plans that he found were very old plans from the initial building in that property and the initial subdivision. And he still has some questions regarding that we need to cure with him. So that's certainly something that we've got to deal with. For instance, I think we all have a note here from him that says, as requested, we have performed review of the schematic site plan approval for 3 existing lots on Cooper Street in the constructed 3-acre subdivision. He notes the 2 documents that were submitted. In addition, we were provided the original SWIP for the subdivision from May 2005. Site plans for each of the 3 lots must be developed in detail. The detail would include water and sewer connections, storm draining work, grading, parking, and other site improvements. Absent this detail, an engineering review cannot be completed. This is based on the information provided in a review of the May 2005 SWIP. It does not appear, he underlines that a revised SWIP or SWIP addendum is needed. So we'll discuss that with him, and then David knows that he needs to provide that information so that the engineer can then go back and do a complete engineering review.
Mhm.
So that's what's outstanding with that. The next thing that we really need to do, did we get any response back from Ulster County Planning Board on that? So we're still waiting on that.
Is that what Phil was referring to, that they made a determination and we're
Okay. So we're still waiting on comments and responses from the Ulster County Planning Board. We really have to wait until we get other information to revise the plan so the engineer can do his study. David has all the copies of the information that's required that Dennis has requested. So really what we need to do now, about all we can do is set a public hearing. And when would be the next available date to set a public hearing?
I think it's February 7th.
Maybe you should do second meeting. So 21st.
Okay. So we'll need then a motion to set the public hearing for PB 2218, 6810 Cooper Street for February 21st.
So motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we have set the public hearing for February 21st, and really that's all that we can do right now. We'll have the applicant reach out to you, get in touch with him, take care of all the forms, and then we'll just move forward. That leads us to the next item, which is PB 2301, it's 218 Main Street. This is an application for an amended site plan approval to add an additional means of egress, handicap accessible ramp to the south of the existing office building in connection with the proposed expansion of 1,430 square feet of the building that was previously approved by the planning board on July 5th, 2022. The property consists of, gives the acres, and it's in the B2 district. So looking at this, the things that we'll need to do, we're going to listen to the applicant's presentation, get a little better idea of what's going on. We'll have to classify this as a type 2 action. We're going to have to refer this to Ulster County Planning Board, and then we're going to have to schedule a public hearing. So hopefully we can get all of that done today. So the issues that were outstanding before we begin here, because I know you'll have all of these cured. The applicant should confirm the only proposed change from its recent approval is on the ramp. Changes in lot coverage that result from the amendment should be reflected in the bulk table. Applicant should confirm proposed amount of disturbance, as there's a discrepancy between the plans and the EAF. And the EAF question number 19 indicates the property is near a property that has been the subject of remediation. The applicant's prior application had identified 4 remediation sites and indicated that the nearest remediation site was approximately 1,800 feet from the subject property. Applicant should update the answer to Q19 on the EAF, provide information again, so it's part of the record for this new application. Do you have these, were these sent to you, these 4 items?
I don't have those yet, no.
Okay. Autumn, can you make sure that he gets a copy of that? That way you don't have to try to scribble all this down as I try to quickly read through it.
Sounds good.
But she'll get you all of that information here very quickly, and it'll tell you exactly what will be required so we can move forward. We can go ahead and do some of these things, but we'll definitely need that before. We'll suddenly get a stopping point if we don't have that.
Okay, yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay. So talk to us. What do you got going?
Okay, so it's nice to be back here. Thanks for having me. Peter Wintermantel, the architect here on behalf of the applicant, Charlotte Guernsey. So in the process of developing the design, you were getting ready to submit for the building department. Charlotte, the owner, had a thought that for the ease of the tenant's use and just for the flexibility of the building over the life of the building, it would be better to add a secondary means of egress in the rear. It's probably easier to see it on the elevation. And then another set of stairs then in the back, from the back parking lot up to the rear. So the front of the building really isn't impacted, the landscaping or none of the approved items from the design, the first time around aren't impacted. So it's just in the rear of the building then is just, the windows shift around and we're adding a second door with the stairs to get up there. So the previous approval is here, just,
Right,
so you can
right.
see. So it's just, that really minor amendment to the facade on the back there facing the parking area. And again, it was just for ease of, use for the tenants, since there will be business tenants throughout the building. The thinking is that the tenants upstairs may not always want to have to go through the shared lobby, and that's really going to be the tenant in the front's main space there. So
And this is the ramp.
this is not a ramp. No, the ramp's not changed from the first approval.
Okay.
So this is just where that existing ramp was or is currently. That was already coming out from the previous approval in the rear, and we'll put stairs in the back there. But the ADA ramp that was proposed, that's still in the project. So that's the main access to the building, which was part of the previous approval.
Interesting, because the issues, she says that the applicant should confirm the only proposed change from its recent approval, PB 2202, is the ramp.
Yeah, that must have been a misunderstanding.
Yeah, it must be.
By her.
Can you clarify that for us with Ashley? We just don't want you to get too far down the road and then.
Right. No, the ramp and everything in the front stays as approved. This is just the, adding another set of stairs in the back then for additional access.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, and were there any landscape changes or is this shrub row is I guess on the existing conditions?
Yeah, so
Site plan, okay.
from the site plan. So this all, all of the front area was previously approved and that stays. So where the stair is in the rear here, there was a planter, that will be replaced by this stair here. The other planters on the corners remain, because they're not impacted by the layout of that stair. So it's just, where that one planter was wrapping the corner, that's gonna have to be taken away. Yeah, but other than that, the rest of the landscaping is, as approved previously.
Okay. Yeah, that has to be an error on her part.
Yeah, I think the only confusion is that the language just says proposed, on the site plan. So maybe if we just clarified previously approved versus newly proposed, which would really just be that back egress.
Right, no, the confusion I'm talking about is that she's mentioning the ramp, in which
Yeah,
the
no,
ramp, there's no change at all. And the stairs are what are being added, so let's get that clarified and then we can move forward. I mean, because it's really just stairs.
Right. Just stairs in that back door.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the drawing, we tried to keep it the same exact format and everything to keep it consistent
Yeah.
with what we saw before. And then we just clouded, the only change back there.
Yeah, I understand. I think that that's just got to be an error on our part. All right, so what we're going to do now at this time is I'd like to get a motion to classify this action as a type 2 action under seeker.
So moved.
Second,
Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
So this is now officially classified as a type 2 action under seeker. Like to get a motion to refer this to the Ulster County Planning Board. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So this will now be referred to the Ulster County Planning Board. They're getting kind of backed up, so let's keep on, I guess. I don't know how we'll do that.
This is not, there's no exception. Right? Or planning board referral for something like this?
No, doesn't appear to be. Yeah, I don't know why we would need to refer it because it's already been referred and passed, and this is only a small modification on it. So make a note and let's reach out to Ashley on that.
I thought it was due to it being on the state road or,
It might be
just because of its location, it needs to be referred, but
Well, there's some parameters around, I mean, there are some parameters around it too.
possibly, yeah.
I think we should just double check, because if
Yeah.
they're backed up and not getting quorum.
Yeah.
Then it's fair to you.
Yeah, especially if you've already gotten that done once.
We didn't do anything yet, we just said we'd ask.
Well,
Don't think it's yet. right now.
appreciate the thought.
So yeah, we've got the motion to refer to Ulster County Planning Board. We'll figure out if indeed that is necessary.
Okay.
So the last thing that we want to do is schedule a public hearing on the next available date. Be February 21st. So motion to schedule the public hearing for this application on February 21st. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so what we're gonna we have some things that we need to do. And Autumn's got the notes here. So we're gonna have to ask our attorney about the ramp versus stairs. And then, do we need to refer to the Ulster County Planning Board? And we'll find out the answer to those in the next couple of days. We'll get that information over to you. And there we go. That's all we can do.
Since it's a minor amendment, would it be appropriate to ask if the attorney could draft a resolution?
We need to clear this up first.
Okay.
Yeah, to make sure that she has all the correct information before we push
Okay.
forward. But that, at the next meeting, that will probably be something we can do.
Okay, great.
All right?
That's correct.
I thought we were gonna keep the escrow at the same for this one because there was no, we don't have any referrals or any consultants, so, there won't be any change in the escrow. And there we are. That's it.
Great, appreciate your help.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
So the next item we have is a new application, PB 2302. It's 145 North Chestnut Street, KES Chestnut Properties LLC. Summary, which you all have, is an application for site plan and special use permit approval to demolish the former Agway and construct a 73,656 square foot three-story mixed-use building with 63 units, 2 studios, 39 one-bedroom, 15 two-bedrooms, 7 three-bedrooms, and 8,610 square feet of retail space and associated site development. Property consists of 2.49 acres along North Chestnut Street. So what we are going to do is we're going to listen to the application, the applicant's presentation. We'll probably classify this as a type 1 action under seeker. Declare our intent to be the lead agency under seeker and look at any additional consultants that we may need. Then we will discuss the escrow at that time. So everybody have a copy there?
Yeah.
Any extra copies?
Oh, yes.
There you go. Thank you. All right, so please go right ahead.
Thank you for having us. I'm Eric Baxter. I'm co-developer on the project.
But I'm Max Kimmel. I'm also co-developer.
What I just passed around is a little informative packet based upon our company and just some past projects we've done in the past. So you know a little background about us. And then I'll let Jason and Ken really speak to the project. Thank you for having us and we look forward to working with you.
Great, so Jason Anderson, project architect, Anderson Design Group, here with Ken Casamento from LRC Engineering Group, our civil engineer. And so we'll just give you a quick rundown of the property, then basically exactly as you said, Chairman mentioned regarding what we'll do tonight. So I think property, this is just a quick overlay that we did. The property, everyone knows, is the Agway property. So essentially the basics of the project is that Agway sits right about here on the property. So the intent is that we're going to remove that and then install basically a 3-story mixed-use retail residential building. And essentially this front section here, which is parallel right there along Chestnut, is the first floor will be the retail space in that area. The center core of the first floor would be amenity space, a little park setting outside of that amenity space. And then the first floor in the back would be residential. And then second, third floor would also be residential in that area. What you see here essentially is we're looking to basically meet zoning everywhere. We've got 35-foot high building to the structure, which we reviewed with the building inspector as well, with the parapet that comes up above that is what we're proposing. But really all in line with what the zoning code is. We're over our parking requirements under our density. Our parking right now actually is a little bit more than what's on our bulk table. We're at 112 spaces because during some preliminary meetings, it was requested that we add some spaces out along the street, which we did. So now we're at 112, and I think we're required to have 105 for the mix that we have up here in this location. Up on the roof, we're planning on having solar, and we have very little HVAC units, only really for the retail space that's down below. Everything else is held within each unit themselves, so it's going to be pretty much an open roof, which gives us a lot of flexibility up there as well. Other than that, it's everything else really is a part of. We've reviewed this at one point with an informal meeting with the building inspector. The mayor was there, fire marshal, to be able to sort of understand the property itself. One of the things we did address right off the bat was how we would get garbage in and out. So all of that's done within the building, which is why you don't see much around the building when it comes to refuse. But you'll notice there's a loading area here, and so that refuse or the residential is inside that building there, and then it's removed from there. So there'll be nothing that's seen on the outside. of the building. That's really the overview. Okay.
So the heating for each unit, so they're gonna be heat pumps.
Electric heat.
Electric heat
Yeah.
pump.
Now, would those be the individual units that'll be placed on the outside of the building?
No, they're inside. They're actually 13 inches by 33, and they sit right in the closet.
So just a quick civil side of it, Jason, did a great job of explaining the rest of it. But the majority of the site is currently a hard surface stormwater impervious surface. We actually are, although a little bit, but we are reducing the hard surface from what is there before to what it is now. Ever so slightly, but it is a reduction. We are providing a water quality treatment. We've done some preliminary testing out there already for stormwater as well as some geotechnical testing, but an underground stormwater chamber system out here that can handle all the treatment for the roof and the parking lot and kind of provide treatment in an area that really doesn't have any right now. Proposed water is going to be off the new water main. We've been talking to the DPW about the new water main that is out there. So Blue has given us the information on the new water main, so we will connect to that there. There's an existing pump station in front of the Agway that comes up to the current village pump station that's up here. As you may or may not know, that pump station has some issues with it.
Yes.
That Blue and I were talking about. When we get Dennis online, we'll talk through what the appropriate best connection point is. I know the project just north of us is connecting directly into the force main.
Correct.
We've actually talked about potentially doing the same because we come right up next to where that force main comes together in front of the car wash. So potentially creating a similar type connection to the force main in there. But when we get into the details of the design with Dennis and Blue, we'll work out those minor details of where and how we connect.
And what height are you proposing for the total building?
So to the roof structure, it's
Yeah.
35 feet.
Okay, so
So
you,
we're at the top of the parapet's about 42.
so you are applying for variance, a height variance?
No, so we don't, so if you look at the definition under the zoning for building height, it's to the roof. Then the parapet is above that. So we're meeting right at the zoning requirement.
Interesting. So you'll have 3 full height floors
That's correct.
and then a flat roof.
Yeah, we can show the rendering. This we did review with Corey. That was part of the primary discussion was on building height. So I'll show you what we're proposing. Let's give you a little bit of explanation. So here we are along Chestnut. This is basically all of our retail area here out front. So we've got a mix of materials. Essentially, we've got most of it's hardy plank, but we've got different textures. So we've got the wood, which is basically the wood texture. We've got brick down below wherever we have those elements, which is at 4 corners. We have our storefront at the lower level that wraps around. You see the cornice up above. This design is replicated also on the rail trail side of the building, as well as on the street side, and also essentially the center section as well will be referencing that as well. We're proposing black windows as well as with essentially trying to elongate, separate those residential spaces from what's happening down below by trimming those out and also with different color. See, we've got metal awnings that go over some of the retail storefronts, essentially those that step back and those that are at the locations where we have the brick.
Awnings, solar also?
No.
The roof as well.
Yeah.
Solar stuff. Will it be raised panels or flat panels? Will they be angled like zero plate?
They're going to on the roof. They'll have to be angled on the roof.
I don't think you'll see them from the
No,
street
you're.
because the
I'm going to ask you if you would, please, can you turn that to the, so that we can make sure that our,
Sorry, I'm sick. I didn't want to get you guys sick, so I stayed home. Yeah, I was looking at the site plan online. I mean, the renderings are obviously lovely, but yeah, thank you. I'm good.
One of the other things to note is during our preliminary meeting, take this front part of the structure and really mimic the road. So we kept it parallel with the road, so it has that face along the road while keeping it back where we originally had it, mirroring each other. Through the preliminary discussion, determined that it was kind of be a better appearance along the road to have it kind of follow the road.
Can you share what the amenities in front of the building and the sort of parking and, or if any, that would be between the road and the building?
The road. in the
This
front
is the
there?
road, yeah,
That's
this,
the road.
that's the
And
road.
So there's a sidewalk?
Yes, yeah, so what we've done is you'll see we've got a sidewalk that essentially wraps, our thought process is that essentially you'd have your retail parking here, right? So this whole area here is retail. So we've got area for retail parking here. We've got sidewalks that continue all the way around the building. Our intent at the moment is probably this would divide in 4 or 5 different retail spaces. It's flexible at that point, but you'll notice we've got entry points along that so that we can have that flexibility for being able to utilize that, as well as the parking that's here. Then we've got all of our parking for the residential towards rear of the building. So really trying to separate the two of those, and that's why we did provide floor plans as well, so you can sort of understand it. But there's this walkway here that goes to really what is the core of the residential area that takes you vertically. So trying to separate the two. And essentially the center section is the amenity. We really don't have amenity space between the road and the building. We refer to amenities, it's for the residential areas. So in this area, you've got things like your bike storage, fitness center, game room, dog wash, all of those amenity spaces, shared work area, all of that would be at that first floor level, as well as any outdoor space for them as well.
And so is it the primary entrance to the residential that would be in the back, or
It
the
is.
only exclusive entrance? to the
No, you
residential?
could, there's another entry here,
Mhm.
and you could also enter through here. So
If you're walking home, you would come all the back of the building.
you would come here and I'd come into this location. You could actually come in here as well. Because there is another stair tower that's here, and so that will take you up to the residential.
And currently our bike storage is situated right there. So if someone was coming off the rail trailer from the village, they could go park their bike and,
And
So one of the things we don't show on here is a connection to the rail trail, but we are working to explore that. Put that in.
And residential units continue on to the front above the retail space, so they just have kind of a long hallway. Or that's also retail. Oh, I see, it's a hallway, yeah, you would come into there. And
Yeah.
And this here, these on the second and third floors, these are all residential.
Yeah.
It's the single, all double loaded, essentially. But the two access points vertically, you've got the elevator here and stair, and then the other stairs. So you get down to a lobby area, and then you've got your main lobby at the other. So this is where we anticipate most everyone coming in, whether it's by bike or by car. That's where the package room will be, the mail room, all of that will be.
The bridge to the rail trail.
Correct. We would need some type of structure to get over it, similar to what used to be at the park and ride or something like that. But we'll work out with them what structure makes the most sense there. Obviously not trying to put anything with footing or anything like that. Looking at probably a wooden structure that goes across the meet ADA requirements for getting it.
A couple quick questions about the application. Just a couple quick questions about the application. Either maybe they're done incorrectly or you have an explanation. So is proposed action an expansion of an existing project or use? Because you're leveling the existing building and it's all new construction, not considered an expansion or an existing, it's considered its own new thing. Okay, sorry. Sorry, I'm still trying to match up the numbers with the question. Yeah, like this thing, so they use it for, oh, does proposed action include any excavation, mining, dredging during construction operations or both? You indicated no.
There's no dredging, mining,
No excavation?
but when you read the seeker document, it says not including for site work, grading and that type. Site grading for drainage. It's that section is typically referred to for, an application that is pure grading or pure drainage design where there is no structure involved or site plan involved along with that side.
It'll all remain on site, okay. Yep. And then, you indicated no, that there would be a substantial increase, there would not be a substantial increase in traffic.
Correct.
What's the rationale for that?
Oh,
With 60 something.
Yeah,
units,
all the units are
residential
full,
and
right.
retail, I would assume that would require a substantial increase in traffic.
our traffic engineer series. We're finalizing the traffic report. Thankfully, we can speak to that a little more.
I think some of it.
We can wait for the report, just think you probably need to.
And I think some of when we were looking at that was more, this was an active retail space
Correct.
at that time for Agway and all of that, but it's been some time.
Yeah, I can't remember
But it
actually
was
having that
approved
traffic.
through the DOT and in that time, the entrance and everything was approved for an active commercial space.
Sure.
So whether it was active or not, that's what the current or the last approved traffic loads were on it. And
But the
we
question
finalized
asks,
the work.
substantial increase in traffic above present level. So I think the answer would be yes. It would be important to indicate that just so it is another place for us to make sure that we.
Yeah, and like they said, we're underway with the traffic study, so hopefully we'll have that in by next meeting or around the end of the year.
Okay, so there are a number of issues that our attorney outlined. Have you been apprised of those? No. Okay. Yeah, we need to make sure that he has those. Given that there's 16 of them, I'm not sure you want me to go through them one by one.
Can you release us?
We can get you that information. That's not an issue getting that to you. So let's get back here. Things such as what approvals required from the 3 state agencies that are identified. A lot of this is just technical information like getting the correct dates on, reflecting the residential units or multifamily, and really you don't need to take notes. We're going to get this to you. Okay. Different answers that we believe should say yes and no, where you may not have had what our attorney views as the appropriate answer. And we'll get to look at this when she's when it gets done and when we get back to us. One of the important ones that I saw is one of your notes should reflect that there are wetlands on the site per the EAF mapper. To identify on-site federal wetlands per the mapper's summary report, Ulster County parcel viewer map. So those are going to be very important. EAF mapper indicates the site may contain endangered or threatened species, including the Indiana bat, bog turtle, and monarch butterfly, or their associated habitat. This area has been studied pretty well over the last group that several groups that have come through here. A landscaping plan must be prepared by an RLA, should be submitted per the village code. So there are a number here that we're going to get you a copy of this so that you can click them off one by one. So this is just the initial meeting, so it's not a panic situation yet. So do you have, so you don't have the revisions to the EAF that were provided by our attorney. We'll get those to you. So really the next thing that we want to do is we want to classify this as a type 1 action under seeker. So I'd like to get a motion to classify this as a type 1 action under seeker. Second,
Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
So this is now classified as a type 1 action. I'd like to also declare our intent to be the lead agency under seeker and the circulation of the lead agency notes of intent upon receipt of this revised EAM. Okay. So motion to declare our intent to be the lead agency.
A motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we have declared our intent. The next thing that we're going to do is, and we do appreciate you having your traffic consultant here. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to discuss what we may believe to be additional consultants that we want to look at things.
Actually,
Yes,
before you
ma'am.
do that, with regard to the circulation,
Mhm.
as soon as we get that to go through it, we'll revise and get it right back. And
Right.
then you can circulate. We're not waiting for the next meeting, correct? Based on your action, as soon as you receive that revised letter and the attorney agrees that it's, been revised per the comments,
Mhm.
you'll then circulate. We're
Right,
not,
yes.
okay, that's, I just wanted to make sure. So we on our side, we don't wait for the next meeting.
Right, right.
We want to get it done and get it right to you so we can circulate.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's all. Thank you for the clarification.
So the first thing is, we do believe there's going to be an increase in traffic, and we do believe that it will affect the traffic pattern in various directions and for various distances. My belief that we need to refer this to our traffic consultant. Is there?
I agree.
Okay. So what we're going to do then is we're going to get a motion to refer this application to Provident, who is our traffic consultant. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, very good. So we are going to move this over to, we're going to have our consultant at Provident to look at this. The next thing is that given that there are various habitats and wetlands, my suggestion is that we get our environmental consultant involved as well.
Yeah, I agree also.
Okay. Thoughts on that, Raquel?
Yeah, I agree. We're obviously seeing similar projects. I think it's important to, treat all the applications in a similar fashion.
And Autumn, our environmental consultant, their name is Capital Environmental Consultants. So I'd like to get a motion to refer this to the Capital Environmental Consultants. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So those are our primary consultants that we're going to need to look at things. So we've got that taken care of. The next thing we're going to do, you do notice that it's on the plan that we do need to get a landscaping plan by a registered RLA, according to our attorney.
Yep.
Okay.
One of my partners.
Perfect. We're going to refer this to our village engineer to study the wastewater and any SWIP that needs to be done. So I'd like to get a motion to refer this to our village engineer for study.
So motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Raquel. So those have now our consultants all are going to be notified. They'll probably reach out to you. You can reach out to them, have dialogue, and get the studies rolling so that we don't waste any time. Okay, the last thing we need to do is, in order to cover the cost of some of these consultants, we're going to raise the escrow to the same amount that the project that is next door to you is currently involved with. So I need a motion to place the escrow at $10,000 to cover our consultants and engineers that need to study the plan.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Very good. So we're at that point, we've got pretty much everything for our initial meeting covered. There's not much more that we can do until machinery starts working for us.
I guess I would just ask for the board's comments, if you have any comments or concerns that we can incorporate in so that we can.
Well, yeah, this area, the NBR district was designed to have both commercial and to have residential area. And there have been several projects that have started, Zero Place, one that's next to you, up from Zero Place is another project. So we're definitely in favor of this. This is going to become, I believe, probably almost like the new downtown for us in a lot of respects, due to the concentration of the people that are going to be in that corridor and the concentration of the commercial that's going to be there, and hopefully there will be some commercial that will enter into agreements with you that will be beneficial to the community and not just simply something that may not have much application to it, because if we want this to be a commercial residential area, a lot of that commercial is going to have to appeal to them. But that's not a decision we can make. It's just our hope that happens. But I think it looks like a very interesting project. I think it looks like really one of the largest projects than the others that we've seen come through here. So it's pretty bold.
Just one question, one comment, Board, affordable housing units, if you,
Yeah, so we're researching that at the moment. We're at 10%, of course, because that's, required. But it's something that we're researching, we're looking at what the density increase would be, if we were to say increase that and get more market rate. We just haven't finalized the financial study on that.
Yeah, reading the code, it looks like for every additional affordable unit, we can add another market rate unit with
Yeah.
to the density. Obviously, we still have to meet the parking requirements.
Right. And that's something that I think the village board, you'll have to be in communication with them on that. But I think that's a correct reading of it. And
We're still looking at, because even right now, we're not requesting any waiver on parking, which I know is something we could be requesting, but we're over even as we are. So, it really come down to density as we start to increase the size of the building to then balance all of that. We're just trying to still study that.
And if I could just add, I would say, in accordance with what John's saying, I mean, you guys have the benefit of the fact that several other projects have commenced, or like obviously Net Zero was the first, and now we have other applications. So I would just suggest that you kind of follow what's going on with those applications so that you can learn from what is being said at public hearings to kind of expedite your individual process. I'll say that I took a look at your engineering report, your initial, and it looks, like you obviously know what the issues are going to be. So as John said, this is as much as we can do today, but I think, you're in the right direction, heading in the right direction.
Yeah, it seems like this is already a fairly far along, a pretty well-developed site plan. Thank you for providing those renderings. And I think I still am taking some time to understand it, digest it, but it's going to be an important project because it really is going to serve as a gateway into the village for a lot of people coming from the north. So I think, just really getting a good sense of what it's going to look like as you come down 32 from the north and see that side. We want it to fit in with the character of New Paltz and represent the downtown.
Yeah. We do, this bottom section does sort of show that, but it doesn't show the other side of the building.
Right.
So, and we'll develop those, as we take a look at the different spots. But that's exactly what we were going for, actually, is the fact that this is, right on the street, and it's going to be part of essentially the gateway from that direction heading south. So
yeah, I think there's only one other property that may be north of you. It's still in the village, and after that, it's the town. And so you're coming in from a more rural aspect into the
we
village.
really did want it to appear too that it's got that mixed use appearance, that it's not a residential building, it's applied,
Right.
Commercial pieces. It has to stand.
Yeah. Got to stand alone together, right? Okay, so, yes, ma'am.
Say I will get you the issue list in the next few days, and since this is a new application, to let you know that any updates to your application will come through me, and any contact with the consultants that we'll be using will also come through me.
Good point.
Thank
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, having a single point of contact will make it easier for everybody. And it's highly efficient, so that'll be a good way to do it.
The sidewalk, I have concerns about the sidewalk access. As you're heading towards the village, I guess it would be the western side of the street. When the road goes over the stream there's no sidewalk at all. There's nothing.
Yeah.
And it means that anybody walking along there would actually have to cross the street. There's no crosswalk there to actually access that.
To the
for
west side of-
pedestrian. Yes,
Or
there's
the east
no,
side, excuse me.
no, it's very dangerous if you try to walk there. There's only a sidewalk on the other side of the street. There's no sidewalk at all. I have pictures of it. You can, the trucks are with it, so.
The bridge is down.
It's a very narrow bridge. There's no sidewalk access. And it's extremely important, I think, that there's access to the rail trail from any building. Because there's two sides to the building. There's the side that faces the rail trail, there's the side that faces the road. And the side that faces the rail trail is just as important.
We think it's important for the project as well, to have that access directly to the rail trail. It's a great amenity. So we're gonna work to see what needs to be done to make that happen. Thank you.
And that's a good point, because I know that the expectation is that some people will cross the street, so we need to provide something for that, which we'll probably question about getting
There should be a
Well,
footbridge on that side.
but across the street here to get you, probably need a crosswalk, maybe
32.
you have to go to cross 32, and that's something that Provident will discuss with you. And then likewise, there is the expectation that people will take the rail trail moving in towards the village as well. So that's, her comments to the needing a footbridge are probably very applicable. So.
And, we'll be working with the DOT as well, so. The entrance.
Very good. Okay, well, thank you very much for coming by. We do appreciate it. Congratulations. Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you.
So. Next thing we're going to do is we are going to be looking at PB 2303 98 North Chestnut Street, New Paltz Bus Depot LLC. Summary, this is an application for site plan and special use permit approval of a retail business not otherwise mentioned for a proposed approximately 2,286 square foot cannabis dispensary. Property consists of 1 acre located along North Chestnut Street in the NBR district. Just some notes. We're going to have to look at a type 2 action. This is the old Stewart's building, by the way, if anybody is not familiar with this.
Okay. This is the new cannabis dispensary
Application, yes.
application.
Mhm.
So there would be two they'd be right across the street from your
Well,
place.
these are applications. One of the caveats for anyone who makes an application and goes through the process and delivers their special use permit and finishes is that at the state, they would have to be able to get a state license. And I don't know what's involved in that, and that's not our purview. All we're doing is just approving the use. And then it's up to them to get the actual application and permit. So we will be classifying this as a type 2 action. There are a lot of notes that we have here that I think you'll need to look at, and we will get you copies of these notes of the issues so that you'll be fully aware of what needs to be done. The general municipal law referral, properties located on State Route 32, but is exempt from referral to Ulster County Planning Board as it is a reoccupancy or reuse of existing structures as long as the following conditions are met. And again, this will be given to you. Increase in parking spaces is not required by local statute, which right now is not. Channelized access to state or county road exists or is proposed, and it already exists. New site lighting, if proposed, utilizes full cut-off luminaries and does not exceed IEA lighting levels. And this will all be part of what you'll get there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to listen to the application presentation. Go right ahead.
Okay, so we have the storage building, and we're trying to get somebody to put a campus dispensary in the existing unit. We're not changing anything in the structure or lighting. All they have to do is, just do the inside decorative or the way they operate. And we have, hoping somebody's gonna come around and with a license from the state to operate it. It's a single unit and could handle all the traffic. And Stewart used to do 692 transactions a day in that unit. And has a 27 or 37 parking spaces.
Counted 24.
I'm sorry.
But Ronnie's correct. This is a location that has a transaction history, really, with the Stewart shops being there. Ronnie's correct. They, according to their records that they provided us with, they averaged in 2020 683 transactions a day. So that site is used to a lot of traffic in and out, which makes it ideal for this kind of special permit. I know that other applicants have had some issues with parking because there have been mixed uses. There's been some residential, other retail, and this is a new retail. This would be just a standalone retail dispensary, which makes it a little bit more interesting. I know that a prior special permit was issued and that applicant had 12 on-site parking spots. We have 24, perhaps a little bit more than that. So I think, John, you are correct. These special permits are issued giving the property the right to be used as a cannabis dispensary, but the state ultimately determines whether or not that site is a reasonable site and whether or not they're going to approve an applicant for using that particular site with a license. I think the state of New York has an extremely huge vested interest in making sure this program is successful. They passed specific legislation, the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, in order to accomplish what they consider to be a very important social justice remedy. The initial applicants have to have a history where they're considered justice-involved individuals, where they have a prior marijuana-related conviction. So there's three components for a successful applicant. One is that they're justice involved. Two is that they have experience in business as a majority owner of that business. And three, that they have significant presence in New York State. So the state has a vested interest in making sure that any dispensary that's authorized in terms of a site and the license issued is going to be successful. And any questions?
Are you gonna sell ice cream?
No, I love ice cream from Stewart's, and I'm a big fan of their new location.
Well, previous Stewart, that's, I think a lot of the traffic came from, visit the pool, it was connected to the Memorial Pool Park.
Yeah, they did a lot of transactions then. They still do. I think the new store does more.
Yeah, they have the cheapest gas too.
They used to, not anymore. Now they have the highest.
Can we be reminded about the discussion that we had with the Zero Place application with regard to the idea that and that was different also because those retail spaces were pre-approved for use. But we had a conversation with Ashley, maybe we should get her opinion to come back on this, about what we're actually reviewing and approving and for whom.
Right.
Are we reviewing and approving an application? It seems in this case, it's the owner of the building who's asking for this to be something we provide a resolution for it to be a use of this particular building. But there's not an applicant or an operator until such time as there's a licensed proprietor.
Correct.
And so did we clarify what those steps would look like? If in fact we said, sure, this would be a good idea, let's approve it, but then there's no applicant, or the applicant comes later?
Yes, and what we discussed is that we are approving the use for that space. And once we've approved the use for that space, we really don't have any further, there's nothing else really that as a planning board that we can do to impact it. That then goes to the state, and they go through their machinations and whatever occurs. I don't even know if anything has actually outside of New York City. If,
So if you don't get somebody with a license, what will you do instead?
well, he will, first off, if they do not get someone to take on that project in that space, then, or they are denied, then that special use permit is no longer applicable. And if they wanted to turn it into another retail item, they would have, that would then just simply be a matter of going to the building department and getting a permit for construction of a retail space inside that existing building. But if they had wanted to do something else that was unique and not just simply a retail, then they would have to appear for us once again. For instance, if they wanted to turn that into a residential property, they'd have to come to us because we had approved their use as one item, and now they're changing the use to the second item.
You might want to consider an expiration date on your special permit.
We usually do. It's usually a year that we do that, and if action hasn't been taken on the special use permit by the end of that year, then the applicant has to come back and try to renew that permit. That's just so that we can get people so that we can get people engaged in moving forward.
And so whoever the ultimate, let's say there's an approved license operator, that subtenant of the owner who's gotten the approval would not need to present before the board any longer. They would just need to follow whatever guidelines are in the resolution.
I think the only difference between this and the place that the other application, is that he already has a tenant, and if we had denied that special use permit, then that tenant, his relationship, that would be his to take care of. This is just the
Right.
opposite order of sequencing.
Right. In this particular case, there is interest. And not able to disclose the nature of the interest, but there is interest.
We really, actually, when it comes to who's interested and whatnot, we need to be left out of that. That's between the state and the individual. All we're doing is approving the concept and the use.
Richard, just to answer your question, with respect to any build out, obviously the tenant would have to go to the building inspector, get the building permit, whatever they're going to do, present plans and get approval for that.
Yeah, that just becomes a building permit
Mr.
issue.
Sturter would be the landlord and the licensee would be the tenant.
Okay, so let's go through a few things here. First thing we need to do is we need to classify this action as a type 2 under seeker. So I'd like to get a motion to classify the action as a type 2 under seeker. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Then we have a few items here, and like I said, you're going to get a complete copy of this, so you don't have to try to write all this down. There are some technical things, such as indicating the number of existing parking spaces, so that we can determine whether we need to refer to the Ulster County Planning Board. The site need to provide the lighting details. The applicant's cover letter references the general SOP standards and indicates they comply, but does not contain any facts or explanations. We need an SUP narrative, and there are some very exact things about how this is going to benefit the community and there's a whole series within our code that will tell you exactly what's needed to get an SUP narrative together. Let's go through here. Address the general SUP standards. That's 21240. Yeah, there you go. You're familiar with that. As well as the particular standards in the village code for retail business not otherwise mentioned. It provides as follows: such business shall be reviewed for its ability to function without negative impacts, such as traffic and noise on neighboring properties. Off-street parking and loading requirements will be drawn from the most comparable retail activity for which the standards have been established. This is all very boilerplate. We'll need to look at a traffic analysis. We will engage our traffic gentlemen to do that. There's been quite a bit of traffic studies that have been done in that area, as I was explaining to the last applicant. So he should be able to produce that relatively quickly. Parking calculations, including bicycle parking requirements, landscaping plan by an RLA should be submitted. And this, the condition of any approval of this will be the requiring of a permit from the state. I got to talk to her about that. I think we can approve the use, and I think she's limiting that, but I think we can approve the use. And then it would be up to the applicant to get the approval. So, okay, so that gives us kind of a general study here.
One question, this might just be advice, either, I don't know if the legislation, permitting legislation has any restrictions as to proximity to community spaces or schools or any of that, as in liquor licensing. This is next door to the community center, you know, they don't. Just checking. Yeah.
And is there a limit on how many licenses get granted?
Don't know. That's a state thing.
So I was just trying to figure that out myself, and the Office for Cannabis Management did release a regional breakdown saying the initial distribution of licenses, there will only be 17 licenses available for the whole Mid-Hudson region. So I doubt that they're, going to approve 2 across the street from each other.
Well, I think they're
Yeah.
approving the individual and not the location. So that's the first item, but
Interesting.
I don't want to beat ourselves up because this is not our jurisdiction.
Yeah, that's just something that we don't have anything to do with.
Yeah.
But it will be interesting to see how they do that. So here's what we're going to do. First thing we're going to do is we've already declared the classification. We talked about the SUP narrative. We talked about lighting and parking details. What we are going to do is I'm going to need a motion to refer this to DTS Provident for traffic analysis. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So we will have DTS Provident who will be performing our traffic analysis. Again, one single point of contact will be the easiest way to do it, and that way she can make sure that the information gets to you as quickly as possible. So the last thing we really need to do is we're going to need to place an escrow of $2,000 to cover the consultant reviews. So I need a motion to place the escrow at $2,000.
So motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that's kind of, yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I see Mo has his hand up. I don't know. Autumn.
Hi.
Who has? All right. I want to say-
Maybe we should wait until public comments at the end.
Yeah, we don't,
I think who's the property applicant?
who's,
Know the applicant.
I see.
He's
Oh,
one of the
okay.
applicants.
got it. So, please go right ahead.
Hi, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yep, yes, we can.
Okay, good. Yeah, thanks for reviewing the application. At what point can we schedule a public hearing?
Well, first thing we got to do is to get a lot of these issues cured, and that'll be the next meeting to get those cured. And that's actually, we should have everything done by that time. And at that point, we'll be able to set a public hearing. And we are setting them now for the 28th. Is that correct? 21st. So that's February 21st. So you would have plenty of time based upon that to well, it would be a crunch, but you could get it done to be on the 21st. You need to turn around the next day and get all the information sent out and taken care of very quickly. But it could be done. But we want to try to get as many of those applications, public hearings taken care of at that time as we can. We try to kind of load them up into one session so that we can just kind of roll through them. But that would require you guys to be turn the information around and get the stuff out very quickly. So
Did want to also add that in terms of the traffic study that you'll be preparing and
I mean, there's about 10 of them already in that. I did one for the other building. Zero Place did one.
Zero Place.
Scott did one. Max did one.
Okay, do it your way.
I'm not arguing with you.
what were you going to say, Rich? Let's hear it.
I was going to say that one of the key considerations for this type of use that we discussed at length during the prior application was the idea that we might need to account for a surge in customer base at the outset of the opening or the licensure of any one of these units, in particular in a town like ours, where we're likely to have lots of interest, lots of people coming from different places. We don't know exactly what that surge will or could look like, but if whichever one of the applicants in our community might be the first applicant in our community, might expect to increase traffic in a way that's exceptional at the outset, and then over time, maybe it would level off and regulate based on sort of more standard usage and attraction and more sites opening up. So I just wanted to offer the suggestion that you might want to try to account for some concept of what that could look like in your site, in your traffic study, because that would give us something to reflect on. And in the Zero Place case, their application had already been approved with an existing traffic study, but they also offered accommodations for their opening plan that would account for the potential for a surge in usage. So that's all.
Yeah. That's part of what's really important here is how you do it.
Yeah. Because I can see it being, whoever gets the final approval, the immediate businesses are going to be overwhelmed. And then it will.
There are some people that say that maybe the product they're selling won't be the product they want either. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, because when you go shopping, if you're not happy with what you buy, then you're not going to be returning. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic going forward.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts.
There's 8 pizza places in our town somehow.
Yeah.
Somebody likes one more than the other, right? All right. Thank you for hearing out my recommendation.
So really, I think that's we're kind of at an end right there. So thank you very much. And please reach out to Autumn and we will see you at the next meeting.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So the next application we have is PB 2304 88 North Chestnut Street. And I do apologize if I mispronounced this. Lila Lucky's. Okay, there we go. This is an application for a site plan special use permit approval of a retail business not otherwise mentioned for a proposed approximately 2,555 square foot cannabis dispensary. Application involves the renovation of an existing one-story building, installation of new landscaping and improvements to the existing gravel parking area. Properties consist of approximately 0.43 acres located along North Chestnut Street in the NBR district. That's going to be a seeker type 2 action. Exempt from referral to Ulster County Planning Board, a reoccupancy or reuse of existing structures, as long as the following conditions are met, which we spoke before. increase in parking spaces not required. Channelized access to the state or county road exists or is proposed. A new site lighting, if any, utilizes full cutoff luminaries, does not exceed IEA lighting levels. What we're going to do is we're going to listen to your presentation. We're going to classify this. There are a number of issues that are below. Then we're also going to be looking at the application to DTS Provident for a review. And Zach right now is pulling up the location, and that location was the old small engine repair shop right across from Smitty's. Yep. So please, if you would just go ahead and introduce yourself and go through the explanation of what you are proposing to do, please.
Representing Lila Lucky, the applicant. Kate Stevens is the owner of Lila Lucky. She's here tonight along with Ruben Lindo, who's our cannabis industry consultant. Jim Keasley Hartford is the River Architects, the project architect. Pat Pendergast is our civil engineer. Frank Feliciotto from Creighton Manning is our traffic engineer. And we also have associates from my office and River Architects here this evening. And as you mentioned, we are requesting a special permit and site plan approval to operate a retail cannabis dispensary. The applicant here is the lessee of the property, so she has secured rights to the property. She's also going to be the applicant before New York State. And we have the full support of the property owner in this case. This application is a little bit different than the other two that you've previously heard. Lila Lucky's is not going to be a card applicant. They're going to be full adult use applicants. Those are different cannabis programs the state of New York is rolling out.
Would you explain the difference between those two?
Sure, yeah. So the card program is the conditional adult use retail dispensary program, and that is solely for justice impacted individuals. It is the state's first step in rolling out the adult use program, and moving to this too. It's on a micro level. It's limited application. That is the geographic restrictions that were previously mentioned. The full adult use program is different. There are no restrictions geographically. There are no caps right now. There's full adult use retail program also being rolled out. Now, those applications have not opened. Card applications, the time has opened and closed for them. And licensees are waiting to be awarded license. So we're in a little bit of a different boat here. The process is, for all intents and purposes, pretty much the same. But for the full adult use program, it is applicant. And so that is why Kate is so involved in the process. She's here tonight. And we just wanted to thank you too for the opportunity to give this brief presentation. I know the agenda is long and there's a lot going on here this evening. Our plan is to adaptively reuse the existing one-story building. We're going to add a lot of improvements to the property. So we will walk you through this, but there'll be additional landscaping on the site, bike racks, sidewalk. We're also going to get rid of existing non-conforming driveway entrances and curb cuts to improve circulation on site. Fully compliant parking is proposed. So we are accommodating the anticipated business, but also not putting too much impervious surface on site, making sure that we have adequate circulation throughout the property. As was previously mentioned on the other project, this area has a lot of mixed-use residential projects proposed, and we believe this area, particularly this retail store, will be able to serve those new populations, that influx of new individuals. This is only retail, so there's no on-site consumption component here. It's strictly a store. We submitted a memorandum from our office going through the special permit criteria and believe compared to the immediately previous use of the small engine repair, there'll be less noise, less emissions impact in general, and the retail store is very consistent with the uses in the surrounding commercial and mixed-use area. And with that being said, I'm going to have Kate just, I know she has a few things she'd like to address to the board, and then we'll just walk through the bill.
Yeah. Hi. I just wanted to really introduce myself. First and foremost, I've been coming virtually to a lot of your meetings. I want to thank you all for what you do. I know that it is a lot, and I am appreciative. Thank you to my team. It's been a lot of hours and time put in to get us right here. So I'm pretty excited to be here. My name is Kate Stevens. I have been a Village of New Paltz resident since 2010. My husband and I, after a very extensive search, trying to figure out where we wanted to raise our son, a lot of different places, and found New Paltz to be our home. He was 2, my son Bodie was 2 at the time. He is now a freshman in high school, going through our New Paltz public school system. He has been, thank God for Jim and the staff at the youth center. He has been an active participant at the New Paltz Youth Center since, middle school, and played a bunch of youth and modified sports for the village as well. So I will be the owner operator of Lila Lucky's. Prior to this new adventure that I'm going on, I spent 12 years in professional advocacy, empowering people to find and use their voices to advocate on issues they care about. So as a mother, as a mom, as a village member in this community, and a taxpayer who is very excited to bring more taxpaying dollars to our village, it is, I believe, not only my responsibility, but my duty to create business practices that not only ensure the highest standards, but also really keep our kids safe, right? My son goes to school with lots of different kids, and I know many of them, and so it's not something I am looking at, right? It is something I am looking at and taking is top of mind for me. For me personally, cannabis has been a part of my life for 25 years. It's helped me tremendously manage a lot of different things. And I'm grateful that New York in the MRTA specifically addressed how our state government and our state laws actually destroyed many families in many communities for their harsh drug laws. And they did that by recognizing that all licensees should have robust social equity plans, and provisions of those should include community reinvestment. That actually means something a lot to me. And not only do I in my business plan to uphold that, but it's going to go far beyond community reinvestment. It's going to be generational reinvestment. I plan on giving tools and resources to our community that can be used for years to come. I plan on hiring locally. I plan on paying well above average for the industry and the area. I want to provide jobs that offer opportunities for growth from within. I want to partner with other women and legacy operators who have entered into the regulated market space through all points of my supply chain, and in the future be able to create a fund to really reinvest and work with and partner with like-minded community organizations who serve the people of the Hudson Valley, as well as people who have been impacted by the war on drugs. So, this is who I am. This is what I plan on be doing for quite some time. So I just wanted to introduce myself and thank you for your time.
with along the trees. Hopefully, in more with. And poles. Now these floodlights. So you can see the existing elevation that that's illustrated in the.
Sure. Good evening, Chairman, members of the board.
The audio was not, didn't go through the stream so well, so.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board, just for the record, Frank Rochelle with Creighton Manning Engineering, I'm a traffic engineer. Had the opportunity to prepare a traffic study and look at this project in terms of existing conditions and future conditions and the parking and circulation, pedestrian access, bicycle access, and the whole gamut. We prepared a December 22nd study, which was submitted, I believe, hearing from you earlier that you'll have your consultant take a look at that, but I could give the board just a quick couple-minute presentation on what we looked at. Obviously, it's no surprise that this corridor has been quite active lately. We know that there's been a number of studies conducted along it. My firm has done a few of them, and there are other engineering firms that have produced studies. So whenever we set out to do a study of a new project, we look at the history, we look at what was done, and we use that information to build upon, because there's some really good information in there relative to pre-COVID traffic conditions. That was important here because we're really kind of on the tail end of COVID, but there's still some anomalies that we're working through and learning. So one of the things, whenever we do data collection, we look at how that compares to 2019 data, and we make adjustments to make sure we're looking at a conservative scenario. In this period of time, we're pretty much back to a full traffic level. There are some changes due to work from home and some things like that, but for the most part, I think what we see now in terms of traffic is what we will see going forward. I think that has stabilized. So we were able to verify that hypothesis with prior data, made a small adjustment to the existing data that we collected back in the fall, which was new data for this project. And then we built forward from there. We know of about 6 to 7 projects that have either been approved or are coming through the town now, so the village now. And we made sure to include those projects in what we call our no-build analysis. So that's looking at the project in the future without this particular project. What's going to happen in the future, even without this project. And then we compare that to what happens with that project, with this project. In terms of the traffic generation associated with this project, what we did was we looked at the Trip Generation Manual, which is a publication of the Institute of Transportation Engineers. It's the industry standard. They provide a wide variety of data on land uses ranging from retail to residential to gas stations and convenience stores. And one of their newer uses is the marijuana dispensary use. And they have various data from existing dispensaries that have submitted
traffic data to the ITE, and they've since published it. So it is,
Where were those particular dispensaries?
there's 4 states largely that are providing the data. Generally speaking, it's coming out of Colorado, Oregon, Massachusetts, and California. So those states, especially the West Coast states, were really on the forefront of the whole industry to begin with. So that's a lot of the reason why the data is there. Massachusetts in the Northeast has also been more active and earlier to the market. But as the manual evolves, I expect that there will be some more Northeast data. But it is a recognized standard. Looking at the data, I think it is representative of what a normal condition will be. I heard, in the last application, there was obviously talk about what happens in that first 1 to 2, 3 months where it's a novelty, where the new factor comes into play and you have a surge. And that's certainly something we've talked about amongst this project team, and we're prepared to address it. We've prepared traffic management plans for special event type uses, not that this is a special event, but it would have that type of effect in the short term, where we work with emergency personnel, police, other officials to come up with a plan that keeps things organized and manages the traffic flow effectively. And that's something that we'll likely have to work out with this board. I'm sure Providence will have comments on that too. We're not fully there yet, but we are prepared to address that. But in terms of the ITE data, that's sort of the beyond 3 months, let's say, let's just use 3 months as that novelty period. What does this essentially look like once it becomes kind of a background use? And what the ITE says for use of this size, which is about 2,500 square feet, a total of 48 trips in the weekday peak hour and 74 trips on Saturday peak hour. So that's 1 hour total trips in an hour. That's not the full day, obviously, but it's the peak hour. When you consider that traffic load and you put that on the roadway network, we see still a fairly well operating intersection at 32 in Mulberry, which is where our traffic is going to come in and out of. Right now, it operates at level C or better, level service C or better. There might be a slight degradation to a minor D, couple of seconds of additional delay due to some more active side street activity. But it's still a favorable operating level and an acceptable operating level with that traffic.
Just a couple of considerations.
Sure.
You said that it would be 48 would be the peak
During the week,
during the week. Did they give you any time frame when that?
they do.
And what is that time frame?
That's in the early evening,
Okay.
5 to 6, 6 to 7.
Do you also look at traffic flow because there is a connector street?
We did. At the church, you're referring to church? Yeah, so what we did is we assumed 80% of the traffic associated with this site would come on and off of 32, and 20% would come up church, thinking that if you're coming on Henry Boy, am I pronouncing that correctly? You could come up.
Who knows?
I'm French, you know,
Who knows?
but you could kind of short circuit 32 and come up church that way. So not that it's your main point of access, but we did recognize that.
Yeah, on that point, I would also, I don't know if that 80-20, I don't know the answer, but I would invite us to consider whether that 80-20 is the right assumption, given the amount of business this might draw that would come from the west, the thruway, or any other parts, that east in that direction.
Sure.
Which then tends to create traffic down Henry W. Du Bois. And that's actually an interesting, Henry W. and 32 and Henry W. and Church is definitely an area that would be more affected. Sure. I'm not positive 80-20 is the right answer, but I think if you can tweak dials to show differences, sure, do that 50-50 and let us all see that too.
Yeah. We've done those types of sensitivities analyses in the past where we show it.
Yeah.
The other thing I just want to point out, we did not take credit for any non-motorized vehicles. We're obviously right next to a rail trail. It is certainly possible that someone could be walking here or taking a bicycle. We've heard the idea that this is kind of a burgeoning new downtown. So as you build that out, you could have more pedestrian activity.
nearby residents could walk. We didn't take any credit for that. We stuck, we applied the vehicle trip generation as we have it from the manual. But we do recognize that it could lend itself to having some non-motorized trip generation. In terms of the parking, 13 total spaces, the way we looked at this is we assume that each of the spaces could turn over once every 20 minutes. 20 minutes might be a little bit long inside this facility, but especially in the near term, again, it might be a novelty and you might want to spend a little longer. But the way I understand these facilities is it's a pretty quick transaction. I'm not an expert on the transaction piece specifically, but I think 20 minutes provides us with a little bit of a conservative view of that, which basically means that each space, you have 13, you turn over 3 times an hour, you could achieve about 40 entering customers driving cars. And that peak demand on Saturday yielded 37 entering vehicles. So we're pretty close there, even assuming that 20 minutes per space turnover on the parking. We do meet the code. Obviously, we understand in that first couple of months we're going to need that.
Where do you anticipate any overflow parking will go?
I think that's something we're still trying to figure out.
Please note that one of the concerns at one point was that people would be doing the overflow parking in the Moriello pool in the parking lot area, and you can't do that.
So we've been working with a landlord who's willing to, and I believe he's going to provide a letter to this board along the lines of, he's willing to permit additional use of that extra lot that's behind the one-story building for certification, or in the case of the first 90 days, that like novelty period overflow and that sort of thing. And Ruben, who operates across the country, he's an expert in the cannabis industry. I think now I'm able to agree to jump in and explain.
That's fine. Just make sure that when you do your consideration, because that is a property that's jointly owned between the town and the village.
Oh, I have no intention.
Well, not that you do. You have to, I'm sure you don't have the intention of that, but just make sure that that's.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
I guess it leaves you.
Leaves me, Ruben Lindo, I'm a cannabis consultant. I've been in the cannabis industry on the adult use legal side this is my 8th year. I've operated in 26 states, 11 international jurisdictions. I've consulted for 3 of the most major cannabis companies in the world as a special advisor to cannabis, and I also was a key contributor to the marijuana regulation taxation act, specifically the social equity component. I was brought back in from California to New York to work with Crystal Peoples-Stokes and her team to make sure that we could win the votes on the Black Caucus. With that being said, my area of expertise is operations. I also own and operate cannabis operations in 3 different states. So I have a lot of background and inside knowledge of how this really is supposed to work. And when we came together as a team, the very first thing that we took into consideration, and I made sure everybody on this team was on the same page, 26 states, I've seen this. I've seen it over and over and over. I've seen it in large cities, and I've seen it in small municipalities such as West Berkshire's, in Western Mass. One of the primary concerns was, how do we protect the general public? The very first thing that I did was sit down with the police chief and explain to your police chief, not only your police chief, but the entire Police Chiefs Association in the state of New York, what this real industry looks like and how we keep it safe, and how do we put standards in place in municipalities that the law enforcement community is empowered instead of handcuffed, no pun intended, in working through this process of the MRTA. I've also worked with other municipal leaders throughout New York to kind of get them to understand things like traffic flow, things like turnover. Frank is correct. In the beginning, you have about a 20-minute per customer visit. Your customer visit is more education on the first time they come through. The second time they come through, it's really cut down to about 8 or 9 minute visit, because customers know what they want. They come in, they purchase, they leave. They don't hang out. So really the flow of the business and the operation of the business is very considerable and comparable to that of, cash and carry, any package store or anything like that that we've seen, or liquor store. One of the other concerns that I heard you, the board, speaking about, besides the traffic, was the number of licenses. And I can speak to that because I helped write that part of the MRTA. There are no caps on licenses on the adult use. The conditional adult use retail license, the card program, was very specific, and it was a pilot program, just like we had the hemp pilot program here in New York. Right, so it's really just to give them a gauge and a snapshot. And by the time we open, I believe the novelty of going to a dispensary is going to be worn off. Because what's going to happen is most people are going to have visited a dispensary and they're either going to be turned on or turned off by the experience. Right, it's just general consumer nature. In cannabis, one of the very first things that we look at is customer acquisition and customer retention. So that's, very basic to the argument, but it really leads for the municipality to have a clear understanding. We've taken into account everything that can and will go wrong, because I've done it in 26 different states. I've seen it all.
Can you explain what the timeline for the licenses are for the card program versus this regular retail?
So, absolutely, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
The card program is currently, the application portal open and closed, which means that they're awarding licenses. The slowdown in the Hudson Valley, I don't know if any of you follow any of the media publication in the Hudson Valley, but I spoke extensively on this in the last 3 weeks. The lawsuit that's pending in the state has slowed down what we do in the Hudson Valley, specifically Ulster County. I also lobbied for Ulster County to get additional licenses, which they're looking at, just because of the severe impact and the delay in rolling out the program. So timeline, we're talking card applicants. We hear that the state has come up with a way to avail the injunction, and we're expecting next week for the Hudson Valley to come online and those card licenses to be awarded to those applicants in the state. Again, that program is very different because those applicants had to pick 5 locations in which they wanted to participate. Those 5 regions, excuse me. And in those regions, they have to find real estate. We know as cannabis experts, and we do this every day, the hardest thing to do is to find real estate. So the state has come up with I'll reserve judgment on their plan, but they've come up with a plan to help those specific applicants find retail spaces. You've heard a couple of folks talking about using their spaces for card applicants. They're going to be loose on that determination based on getting the program up and running. By the time we're rolling out, this will answer your question. We're thinking that adult use applications will come out in March. We believe that there's a 30-day comment period, and then the state has a 30-day comment period to respond. Knowing what I know and seeing what I've seen, the state's not going to take 30 days to respond. The state's going to respond with, this will be controlled through regulatory review, and we're going to keep rolling the program because it's the top priority of the governor and her team to get the full program executed.
Can you explain to me because I just don't understand it, between the card program and the adult?
So card program is the conditional adult use retail program. That's for justice involved individuals. So in order to apply for that license, you had to have had a cannabis arrest or a run-in with the law pertaining to cannabis specifically. Also in that program, you had to have show proficiency in running a business and show a profit in that business, and or be a not-for-profit that deals with justice involved individuals. Okay, that program is limited to 150 awarded licenses. They've only awarded 32 licenses at this point. Okay,
That's the pilot.
so that's the pilot program. The full adult use program is open to anyone who wants to apply. The only caveat of that is you have to be 21 years old or older
Okay.
to apply. And that would be similar to applying for a liquor license.
Right.
Matter of fact, Vince Bradley's team oversees that application and enforcement.
So applications probably over in March.
We're looking, I'm sorry, I'll get back to it. We're looking at retail operations beginning, we're thinking sometime over the summer, but at the very latest, sometime at the beginning of the fourth quarter of next year, which would put us in September, October time.
Okay. That's all very interesting and it tells us more than we learned today, so thank you for that summary. So there are various things we need to do now. We're limited in what we can do at this point. This is just kind of an introductory meeting. So we're going to take care of some of the basic things we need to do. For instance, the first thing we need to do is we have to classify this action as a type 2 under seeker. So I'd like a motion to classify the action. Second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Raquel. So this is now classified as a type 2 action under seeker. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a motion to refer this application to DTS Providence for review and traffic analysis. And so I need a motion, please, to refer the application to DTS Providence. Second. Second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Raquel?
Sorry, aye.
That's fine. So there are a number of issues that were detailed by our attorney. And I'm going to assume that you do not have those.
We don't, we have Corey's correspondence, but when I spoke to the attorney last week, she had it finalized.
So what I'm going to ask you to do is we'll go over them very briefly here, but what I'm going to ask you to do is have your single point of contact with our project manager. Looking at one person's dedicated to making that contact. That will make your life and her life a lot easier. She can funnel all the information back and forth. You get it done quickly and efficiently. So among the things is she notes that the applicant should provide additional documents and information identified in the course intake memo, as that was just intake memo. The SUP narrative should address the general SUP criteria, Village Code 21240. Off-street parking calculation include the requirement of one space per 500 square feet of usable floor space. Should include bicycle parking. The site plan indicates the application involves 2 parcels. The owner's endorsements and proxy statements must identify both of those parcels. The site plan should indicate no existing parking spaces again. We'll review lighting details, landscaping prepared by an RLA. So that will need to be submitted as well. And then lastly, it's going to be the post cannabis dispensary required permit from the state, which would be a condition of approval. So all that information will be funneled through her to get to you. That way you guys can act on it. And lastly, similar to the gentleman who was proposing at the nearly adjoining location, we're going to make a motion to place escrow fee of $2,000 to cover costs of consultants. So moved. We go. Okay, so we've got to move the motion, and then we've got a second. So all in favor?
Aye.
So that really kind of encapsulates everything that we can do at this time. As this progresses, you'll be able to provide more information, and we'll have much more of a dialogue. Any questions for us as a board?
I don't believe so. We'll plan to provide those supplemental materials for the next meeting. Should we plan to come back one more time before the public hearing is scheduled?
Well, the way that we're trying to organize the meetings is that we have one business meeting where we have a lot of the details of the applications that we work through. And one meeting where we do a lot of the public hearings, get a lot of the material that isn't quite so dense and complicated. Unfortunately, for this meeting, we had to have both. But usually this is a much shorter meeting and there's a much more rapid clip. So if you get us that information by our next meeting, then if the onus would be on you to follow that meeting, get all the notices out as quickly as possible so that you can be on the 28th. And I don't really want to go ahead and schedule you for the 28th because there are some things that do need to be cleared up. But once we have those cleared up, we'll be free to schedule you, and probably schedule you for the 28th of February. And then just after that point, continue to move on forward.
Okay.
21st, I'm sorry. I keep saying 21st. Yes, sir. Questions? No. All good. So.
Thank you very
That's
much.
pretty good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. The last portion of our meeting tonight, we do need to get please a motion to adjourn.
So you want to approve my new application form?
Yes. Did everybody get a copy of this, the new application form?
Yes.
This is a much more easy to read, easy to act on form. Requiring simple statements with certifications and then check boxes. So, you know. We're getting pretty close to, and I like this. I think this is very good. So, we need to make a motion for approval of this. We need to just kind of get this whole general approval. I think we've got it. So we're good to go. Thank you for doing that. The last thing we need to do is a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Aye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Feel better.
Thank you. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
It's so long tonight.
Don. Oh, I'm going to email you guys about something. I have a question, but I'll email you guys.
Okay.